If we are going to talk about composing and decomposing fractions, we must first remember that compose means that we are going to add fractions, and decompose means we are going to subtract fractions. It is also important to remember that we're doing all of this with equations. And if you look at the word equation, okay, we see a part that looks very familiar. Equal. So, an equation has to have equal signs. So if we look at my fraction that I have right here, I see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in this square. So I know that 4 is my whole, which is my denominator. Now, I know that there are 3 pieces that are colored in red. 1, 2, 3. So 3 is my part, which is 3/4. If I wanted to compose this fraction, I am finding a way that I can add up the fraction. Remember that I'm trying to make an equation, so I put my equal sign, and I think 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 would equal 3/4. Let's look at another example. So the first thing I have to do is figure out my fraction. So remember, fraction is a part over a whole. The whole is how many slices you have in this circle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I would have 8 as my denominator. The part is the number of slices that are colored in blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my fraction would be 5/8. Now, I'm going to try to find a way to compose this fraction. Remember that compose means, that's correct, add. So, I could say 2/8 plus 3/8 equals 5/8. Remember that when we add these fractions together, we only focus on the numerator, 2 plus 3, which equals 5, and the denominator, that's correct, stays the same. So this is an example of composing. What if I wanted to decompose these fractions? So again, decompose means, that's correct, decompose means subtract. So if I wanted to decompose 5/8, I would still put my equal sign, but this time, instead of putting it right after 5/8, I'm going to put my equal sign over here. I'm going to put a minus sign over here. And I'm going to say 5/8 take away 2/8 would equal 3/8. Because 5 take away 2 equals 3. Think of it like a fact family. I still have the same numbers. I still have a 5 and a 5, a 2 and a 2, and a 3 and a 3. So I'm using the same numbers, I'm just putting them in different places. So what about 4/5? How could I compose 4/5? Think about this in your head. Correct answer would be 2/5 plus 2/5 equals 4/5. Now, there are other ways to compose this. You could also say 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. Is there any other way to compose this fraction? That's correct. You could do 3/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. These are all ways to compose a fraction. Now, if you notice here, we have a mixed number. And we want to think about this by covering up the 1 and the 2. So if we pretend the 1 and 2 is not even there, that leaves me with 1/3 plus 1/3. Well, I know that my denominator exactly stays the same, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my denominator down. Then I'm going to think about 1 and 1. 1 plus 1 makes 2. so I have 2/3. But now I need to come back over to my whole numbers. 1 plus 2 makes 3. So the sum is 3 2/3. Let's look at this one. And notice that this is a subtraction problem. So I'm going to start by writing my denominator because I know that my denominator exactly stays the same. Then I'm going to take my numerator, 5 and 2, and I'm going to subtract them. 5 minus 2 is 3. So I have 3/6. Then I'm going to do 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 would be 1. So my mixed number would be 1 3/6. Now, I want you to try these two on your own. So pause your video and again try these two on your own.